Hey guys, how's it going? It's Douglas here at Drown Boy Cosplay, and today we'll be giving you a super special review. I've been given the opportunity by my good friend Gavin over at darksmoresgaming to go ahead and review his Trick or Treat Studios miter and his Trick or Treat Studios chasuble. I've not gotten my hands on these, and I really kind of didn't intend to buy one, at least until I could find them on sale, and I was not able to do that this year. But he has a set, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll give you guys some ideas of what they have. So there are quite a few things to point out about this chasuble. The main one is actually the material itself is not a satin like it was actually made out of. It is actually, it feels like a thin polyester. I would assume that this was done, of course, to be more cost efficient, to where more people could afford it, because having a legitimate one of these is very, very expensive. I personally have spent over $700 on mine. Another thing to address is that it says it is one size fits all. Now, I guess this technically is true because what you're wearing is a poncho. As you can see, it's a bit short on me. If I move my hands up in this position, it would be very high. So it is a bit short on most people, but a lot of shorter people would be wearing this, so I can see why they made it short instead of long, because you could still wear it like this perfectly fine. It is a little bit tighter around the neck if you have a giant neck like I do. I think if you have a normal sized neck, you really won't have any issues with this, and overall it should be fine. And if you do, it does have a Velcro latch in the back, so you could totally just undo it and have it hang down a bit further. Another major thing to address is the patches. Now, these patches are not embroidered like the actual ones are. These are screen printed on a very, very thin fabric and sewn on. I don't think that this is too bad. I think that they could have glued it, but I don't know how well that would have stayed on. I think it's a good thing they probably did just go ahead and sew them to it, even though you lose some of the detail. The actual detail of the crucifixes themselves is not very great, unfortunately. The design is actually all wrong. I don't know why they didn't just get the files and print it off of the real deal, but it does look completely different from how the originals look. Another thing to mention is the lace. The lace going down the center does seem to be the correct floral lace, but the edging along the sides is not the correct lace. It actually should be a much heavier, thicker lace, whereas it is still just very, very thin and simplistic. I believe it also could have been a bit wider on the center and side panels, but overall it's not too shabby. Some of the major things I dislike about this robe are definitely the fact that the green on the inside does not go all the way through. It's only a very, very small panel of green, just so you could see it normally. So the entire inside is not green. As you can see, it is in fact mostly black. Then at the very, very bottom, the corners are actually stitched together so that it won't separate, so it doesn't really act like a full-on poncho. I guess this kind of does help it keep its shape, but it keeps it from moving how the original does. Now, I guess if this was a huge problem, you could always go through and rip out the stitching yourself with a seam ripper, or separate it however you see fit. But I think coming stock, it's more of an issue than it is a good thing. I do believe that this chasuble runs around the $70 to $80 mark, and I think for that much, you can't really complain, although you could definitely get a much higher quality costume somewhere else for a different character, and this seems to be very lacking of any details. It is mostly just fabric. As compared to paying an actual artist for it, I say it's a pretty good deal, and I would actually recommend this for most people. It's not really conventional for most consumers to go out and pay upwards of $500 to have their own custom chasuble built. If you're a stickler for the details and the finer quality stuff like I am, then it's definitely worth it. If not, and you're just a casual consumer, I would strongly recommend getting this from Trick or Treat Studios. Now, I actually do have a little bit of a treat for you guys. We will also be doing a little extra review of the miter itself. Now, this miter, at first when I saw it, I thought it looks terrible, and I thought it was just completely awful, to be honest. But actually holding one in hand, it's much higher quality than I imagined. It's not too far off of the shape of the actual miter for the Papa 2, and looking at it up close, it actually has some pretty good details. The fabric that they use for the center, the gray overlaid fabric, is actually the correct fabric. Then another huge, huge bonus for me is the fact that this does come with an embroidered patch. I think just for the patch alone that this is actually worth the $40 retail price. If you can get these cheaper, definitely pick one up. My main complaints are the fact that it does not have the correct lace around the edges, and there's really no detail on the back other than the straight line of the gray fabric. Now, this isn't a huge deal. Yet again, for $40 you really can't beat this. But I think one problem a lot of people have had is with the shape looking a bit twisted and folded and not really holding its correct shape well, and to that I have a simple solution. you can iron this out. You can iron it completely flat and it will hold its shape much, much better. I've seen a couple of people do it and it seems to work like a charm. I strongly recommend it. Another thing they got wrong is on the tailors on the back. As you can see, it has one extra crucifix than what it needs. It should have one missing at the very bottom, but in this case it does not. Several pluses for this piece is the fact that it does have a really, really nice fabric. It seems very durable. The embroidered patch is a huge, huge plus, and I say it's worth a $40 retail just for that. Another thing is the tailors are double layered. A lot of people just use a straight strand of ribbon and leave it at that, whereas they did at least care enough to double layer this. Overall, I think that this is an excellent, excellent piece for any collector. My only problem is the size. The size is a huge issue. It is definitely smaller. This is made for a smaller person for sure. As you can see, I'll go ahead and put it on just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. This is about as much as I can get it on my head without stressing it. It is a very, very small crown size miter. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the miter itself does not even fit the standard Trick or Treat Studios mask. If you even look at their pictures on their website, you can see it sitting very, very far up on the head. Now, why they decided to make it so small that it can't even fit their huge masks, I have no clue. But overall, I think it's still a pretty good price, and I would recommend it if you're interested in something like this. If you're only going to use it for display, I strongly recommend it. If you're going to use it to wear, I would find out the crown size and measure it to make sure it's going to fit you before purchasing. Yet again, overall, I think these are two fine products, yet again, by the good people over at Trick or Treat Studios, providing, yet again, cheaper alternatives to nice products. If you were going to get something like this made by an independent artist, it could cost you upwards of $800, which is what I've paid essentially to have mine fully completed. However, for this, you're looking at a full package running around $100 to $120, and for that price, you really can't beat that. So if you guys are interested, feel free to pick one up at trickortreatstudios.com, and see you next time.